So let's
The
talk
Blade
about
Masters.
people that are actually deadly and coordinated and good at it, who are
Yeah,
not
let's talk
me.
about those peepers.
Did I say peepers? Yes. I'm not taking it back. I'm leaving it.
Jeepers creepers.
Have you seen those deadly peepers? You're welcome.
And we are the Roses are Valon. If you're still with us, I'm sorry. I don't know.
I like that you apologize and I thank them. I'm fine with that.
We actually have interesting stuff that we want to talk about.
Which I think is, I feel like kind of giddy about it because we've been wanting to talk weapons for a long time, and we're just taking a moment to do one section.
Tiny little.
And it is.
Snippet.
It's a very elite group of people who make up what would be considered blade masters in the Westlands. But of course, before we can go into all of that, we need to define what a blade master is.
Spoiler alert.
Do we?
It kind of is what it sounds like.
I know, right? I was looking over it and I wrote out the definition and I was like, I don't know. I think the only thing that is important on this is that there are two ways to become a blade master.
Yes.
And so that I do feel is important. So you either have to receive a unanimous decision by a panel of 5 blade masters judging one's skills, or you need to kill another blade master in fair combat. So,
I mean, yeah, those are your options.
I for one
would. Yeah. I wonder if there's fake blade masters out there that paid the board of blade masters,
paid them off.
Yeah, like your son. He's not that great, but you want him to be proud. So you're like, hey.
Right? I don't know if you saw this bag of gold go into your pouch or not, but...
Randy here.
Not everybody gets their hair and Mark Blade through nepotism, Rand.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, spoiler alert. Are we full spoilers today?
That's a good question.
I feel like it kind of has to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we are going to talk about the fact that Rand has the sword and how he gets the sword from his father, and the way that leaves this person who's never carried a sword before in their life carrying around
a legit
blade
awesome
master. Yeah.
Weapon.
Power forged, probably around for centuries. Definitely around for centuries. Blade. So he has something he almost has to live up to. It almost feels like a weight for him that he's got this, and he's always like, man, I hope nobody knows I don't know how to do anything more than potentially stab myself in the foot with this sword. Poor guy.
Enter Lan. Dun, dun, dun.
Lan! For anybody who wants to just fall hard for Lan, or if you have and you want more of him, pick up New Spring, because he
Are we going to talk about the deeps?
Yeah.
Did you just kiss your book?
No, I just got it very close to my face and hugged it.
Oh.
I mean,
I'm all for sniffing books, though.
Yeah,
the paper smells good.
I love it. Well, let's see here. Where should we start and where should we move forward from?
Wherever you want.
Okay, so as far as, we're talking about how Rand has just been kind of through the fate of the world, been handed a Heron Mark blade. But if you actually want to work to attain a Heron Mark blade, there aren't really very many ways of going about doing it unless you want to study at the White Tower with the Gaiden. Am I just... Oh. I forgot it was there.
You have to study. We're just a part of the new Spring fan club, and we want everyone to join us.
I agree. I
Look at it.
agree.
It's
I have
beautiful.
my pages are just so covered in like notes, like little love notes and stuff, and like underlining from when we read this together. Like I even have little sticky notes still in there.
Dear diary,
Right?
I fell in love today. Landman Dragron, the man of my dreams.
Ah,
Tai Sharmanatharan, Tai Sharmalkier.
seriously, if they could somehow do a flashback scene that would involve Daniel Henney doing this
chapter?
battle, I would die.
Okay, here's the thing with New Spring. I think a lot of people don't read it because it seems boring to them. Mm-hmm. It's like background stuff. Mm-hmm. But chapter 16 has one of the nicest, I think, like written chapters in all of the Wheel of Time.
It's beautiful.
If you're a Lan fan, if you're a Lan fan.
Yep.
Do we want to talk about that?
Yeah, I'm actually trying to find, like, I have it here. We forgot this was when we were talking about his first lover too.
Yeah, it's also talking about I think it's also the chapter where he's like, and she'll find nothing shy about me in the bedroom. And I'm like,
like just blushing. So this is the one that we always come back to. 6 men were striding across the otherwise empty yard. 6 ordinary men with swords at their belts, like any men on any street in the city. Yet Lan knew before their hands moved, before their eyes focused on him and their steps quickened, he had faced too many men who wanted to kill him not to know. And then it was like, it's the time flowed like cool honey.
like cool honey.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think too, it's nice because we're given so many of the sword forms in such a short amount of time.
It's like super
and
compact.
It's just good.
Yeah.
Now I just want to look here.
Time like cool honey, the gray lark sang, and the lean man shrieked as cutting the clouds removed his right hand at the wrist, and Lan flowed to one side so the rest could not all come at him together. Flowed from form to form.
Form to form.
Soft rain at sunset laid open a fat man's face, took his left eye, and a ginger-haired young splinter drew a gash across Lan's ribs with black pebbles on snow. Only in stories did one man face 6 without injury.
The rose unfolds. How many? There's so many.
So
Death
many.
A feather, dandelion in the wind, kissing the adder.
It's
all
just
good
this
stuff.
flurry of Lan being
Lan.
just, oh my God. I would love to see this for real. I would love to see this fight for real.
Amazon Prime, give Mr. Henney.
This is our request. This is a big time one. So the thing about Lan that I think is really interesting is that even though he very much has the right to carry a Huron Mark blade, he does not. And so in this case, he is kind of an unidentified Blade Master. It's his walk and his stance and him just like exuding deadly radiance. Like
everybody knows Mandragora. Even the Aiel know who he is.
Right?
Like his name comes with somewhat of like a legendary status.
100%. And I love it.
He doesn't need that, that sword of the Malkiri king passed down at first because he's not, I don't think he feels ready to take it until he's doing his last duty. Mm-hmm. Sounds really bad. So yeah, like he's probably the most deadly person in the Westlands, the best trained fighter, the most fearsome warder, and he also has like the added benefit of being a warder. So they're like, don't tire, super speed, whatever.
Yeah. And I mean the way that he's able to just kind of run in and out of fights and have Maureen like heal him, and then he can just like go
And he's got like super stamina from being a warder. So some chapters he just like takes off and he's on his
gone.
horse for a day. And then he
Yeah.
comes back and he's like, oh, I've been fighting Trollocs for like 24 hours. No biggie. Like,
Yeah.
on the
yeah.
run.
Yeah. As far as like Blade Masters go, Lan for me is at the top.
To the top.
Yeah. And the other Blade Master that I think is important for us to touch on because his story is so much more in the background is Tam's. We find this out early on that Tam, this simple farmer in Emmonsfield, somehow has a Heronmark blade, this legendary sword. And Rand is like, what? What the hell? Like, just totally confused about this. And I don't
I still
know.
like the idea of Tam like pulling it out of a like field somewhere. Like I know that Tam was a very well trained fighter in his own right. He was in the Ileanar Company in the Aiel War. So like Tam has experience fighting, but I just think it would be funny and cool if the Heron-marked blade was perhaps something
He
from...
stumbled across.
Yeah, like, because Emmonsfield is Manetheren, so some of those last battles of Manetheren were in Emmons Field.
Oh, that's
where
such
the
a
king
good
of
point.
Yeah, that's where the king of Malkier, that's where the king of Manetheren fell. So, like, how cool would it be if, like, it just got buried underneath the explosion when Queen Eldrine went supernova, and then, like, can you imagine Tam, like, pulling it out of her crop and, like, dusting it off, be like, taking it to war with him.
It wouldn't be like rusted or deteriorated in any way because it's a power rot blade. So it could have stayed buried forever and it still would have been razor sharp and ready to go. And I think that's really fun. Yeah, because Tam earns his Heronmark blade through the killing of someone who carried a Heronmark blade. And I think because of that, he's always felt like it doesn't really belong to him. Like, he doesn't... It's not an honor. It's a remembrance. And so, of course, it's something that he's just kind of willing to hide away and never use again. But once Tam gets called back into action, it's like...
Ooh, when we go back to the last battle, that... There's a chapter in the last battle that I think is largely overlooked by people, and it's Tam fighting with the Emmonsfield Company, I guess you would call it, and they've got like a V-shaped formation. I don't remember who's in the front, but Tam's behind them, and he's thinking, like, he doesn't want this person in front to be killed. And he's like, it should be me. And out of nowhere, like, things look like it's going bad for a minute. And Tam is just ripping through bodies. And he's going crazy. And he's won with the sword. And he's talking about just, even in his old age, like, everything is just coming to him from memory and practice. Like a reed bending in the wind. It doesn't know how to do it. It just does it.
It just does it.
Like, there's no thought. And it's so cool. And it's another one of these really well-written moments. And you get this, like, perspective if you hadn't already found out throughout the whole series. Like, Tam Althor is a badass.
Totally. 100%. Like, you talking about that also reminded me of his sword practice with Rand before the last battle. And Rand's like, I can't fight. I only have one hand now. And Tam was like, that's bullshit. Go grab that sword. We're gonna practice this out together. And they do. And it's so, like...
It's so good.
I just love it. I just love it. Yeah. I love it so much.
I think there's something to say about how Rand's feelings about the sword kind of mimic his father's, because there is this like hesitancy at first, and we know that Rand like doesn't want to kill. He doesn't want to fight. But when it comes down to it and he's in danger, he's usually fighting to protect the people that he cares about and not so much himself. And he's just so much like Tam that...
Well, and he earns his Heron Mark blade legitimately when he does the same thing that Tam did and kills a man who carried a Heron Mark blade. So I just find it so, like, their parallels, their connection as father and son, I just find it touching, because you could have something go in this direction where, like, somehow that, well, okay, computer. That was not supposed to happen. I forgot. Oh, just how nice it is that Rand and Tam have these like parallel moments that they can almost come back and relate to if they ever get a moment too. So we have Lan, super badass, kind of keeps it hidden, but it's hard to hide that completely. And then Tam, who has managed to keep it fairly well hidden. There's really only a hint of it at one point in the very early books, and it doesn't happen until Ravens, when he's like telling the story of the dragon and they're like shearing sheep and whatnot, and all of the kids are really young, and I love that part. So as far as like Blade Masters go in the Wheel of Time, I would say it's well under 20, and some of them have already been killed and taken off of the playing field completely. Oh, so I had started talking about like training for becoming a Blade Master, and one of the things that is mentioned frequently, especially like in training moments, so like we have Gawain and Galad at the White Tower, and they're training with the Gaiden in a very specific way, but they use training swords. And then Lan and Rand, this is the other way to become a Blade Master, is to just have a mentor who is a Blade Master. They also have these wooden swords, and they're described as like lathes bundled together. So I started kind of like digging into that just a little, and thanks to like connecting connecting links and the internet.
And I'm trying to I want to do it so bad, but I'm not going to.
What are you not going to do?
Wink.
That's better. These practice swords are inspired by practice swords used for kendo, and they're called shinai. I think I'm saying that right. I did some digging through YouTube and found some really cool...
Tracy's watching documentaries again.
Oh gosh, it wasn't just documentaries this time. It was also like kendo competitions. I might actually like include a couple links or some of the documentaries that I watched, because they were really cool. Like just talking about like the development of swords and how they like the development of samurai swords was as the blade master, or not blade master, like the smith who's making the sword is folding the steel, and whoever is wielding the power is wielding it into those flows. I just thought that was so fascinating.
Oh yeah, like layers of the metal, layers of weaves, and it folding over one another.
Yeah.
Ooh, Amazon, do something like that. That would be cool.
Yeah,
that would be very cool looking.
I'm suddenly in love with sword making.
Add it to your repertoire.
So this whole idea of carrying a Heron Mark blade you have the option to do it. You can make the choice to carry a hair and mark blade. You don't have to do it. And it does seem as though either you really want to show it off or you want to act like you don't have it. And it's interesting to me because, like, Rand thinks about how carrying a hair and mark blade draws attention that he doesn't really want to have, and understandably
It happens
so.
everywhere he goes. When he walks into Kyrian,
Yep.
it starts the biggest rumor mill of any nation is this outlander young lord with a hair and marked blade, and it's just everywhere he goes. It's like everyone's whispering about this guy.
Yep.
It's because of the sword. Like he also is like very tall with red hair and reasons.
Says he's Andoran but looks like an Aiel.
He speaks things that only Shinarans would say.
Right. Yeah.
Like
he startles a lord. Like in the course of a conversation where he's just like, I have no idea what to make of you. And Rand's like, me too. This is all new to me as well. We're on the same page.
Yeah. When he's playing at Lord Rand, like in The Great Hunt, he's kind of stepping into this responsibility role now that previously hadn't really happened. And I think too, like, this is one of these things I really don't know how they're going to do it on a TV show. I don't know how they're going to make him a blade master on the television show because he's on a very different path. And in the books, he's already swinging the sword around, but in the TV show, he hasn't really used it yet.
No, and I think that's definitely one of the things that I wanted to talk about is...
So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Shall we?
I mean, I can't resist a shoulder wiggle.
Ooh, then we should talk about Celine, the most beautiful person in the whole world.
She smells so good.
She smells amazing, wonderful. No, with Rand and the Great Hunt, he's pretty much with the group of Shinarans, Perrin, Matt, throughout the entire book. They're split up for that moment in the Portal Stones. But he's already been under, like, Land's tutelage. So he knows what he's doing with the sword.
Yeah.
And when he's carrying it, I do feel like there is a little bit of that air about him where he knows that if the time comes, he can use it and he will use it. Now, TV show Rand, there's nothing pushing him in that Blade Master trajectory yet.
No, he's
and
just
I'm
holding
very
on to
curious.
I mean, one of the things I think they've deprived the TV show version of Rand of is the way that Rand in the book uses sword form practicing as a source of meditation and collection for himself. Like, how often is it where he's like, and then I just worked the forms until I was tired enough to fall asleep. And like, that's where he turns when he needs to like find peace of mind. Now, where does he go in the TV show?
Yeah, they had him shooting arrows at one moment when they did like the Dragon Reborn reveal. But I I keep coming back to it because I don't know how they're gonna do it.
Yeah.
I would love if Moraine and Land cross paths with Rand and we do get some of those moments between Lan and Rand, because let's face it, like, this is a really important relationship for the both of them.
Absolutely.
And it's a very positive way to show male friendship. And I think that's something that the TV show could approach in a really like lovely way. But we don't know if they're gonna meet up at all. So no cat crosses the courtyard, no dandelions in the wind just yet. I'm very, very curious what other people see as Rand's trajectory through season 2, if that's something that they think he's going to go on to straight through the Dragon Reborn, and we end up in Tyr. And
yeah, I really my ideal way of handling this. I think
tell me,
would be-
Tracy.
I would
I'm
love
excited.
to. I would love to. I would love for Rand to start out, for Lan and Moraine to realize that they need to stay with him, so they take off after him, and there's like this, not necessarily a confrontation, but an exchange where Moraine is like, you need help. Lan, you need to train him in this thing. I will train him in this thing. And then by the time they reach Cairhien, if that's what happens, he's received the education that he needs to have to be able to pull off potentially Lord Rand. Because I don't see any other way of making that happen at this moment. I think we may have touched on the idea of Selene being the one who
wealthy benefactress.
Yeah.
And life debt.
I guess that's okay, but I would much rather it be Lan and Moraine.
Yeah, but she can't exactly teach him how to be a blade master.
No, and her intentions for Rand are entirely different than that of Moraine's. I just can't see Moraine being in a situation where she can't channel and she just curls up in a ball and she's done. She needs a direction, and Rand has been her direction for decades. So
yeah. So putting all of her emotion and everything that she's feeling into building him up to be
the best
leader.
Dragon.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it's that kind of so good.
It's kind of like Swan when she decides that they're going to take Logain back to, they're going to find the rebel Aes Sedai, and she's she puts everything she has into that particular goal instead of thinking about the fact that she can't channel any longer. So I think Moraine's going to have I hope that's what I would do to bring them back together, because Perrin is going to have to head off after the Horn somehow, would be my guess. I can see Lan and Moraine just not even heading back to Faldara. And then everybody assumes that Lan, Moraine, and Rand are all dead. And then,
they show back up somewhere along the way.
And it's a delightful, wonderful surprise for everybody. Resurrections for everyone!
Well, that would work, because that interview that Rafe Judkins said that Matt is more... He alluded to Matt being on his book 3 trajectory, which is the good stuff.
The really good stuff.
That leaves Perrin to hunt for the Horn with the Shinarans, possibly.
And maybe
we
Boyle.
Don't. Yeah, and we don't necessarily need Rand in Cairhien
unless we need him there to somehow kick off the Cairhien Civil War. And in that case, I can see why his presence would be needed there. But I think you could easily just work into the plot being...
Dustamar fighting. Civil War will happen on its own anyways. Yes, it was coming.
They get little notifications throughout their travels where so-and-so...
Tiny envelopes.
Tiny envelopes with bad news.
Yeah.
I would imagine that Moraine would probably still use... the blue's eyes and ears while she's out and about.
Yeah.
So she would know, who's in to step into, whose shop to go into to get the information that she needs to kind of keep going. And so, a scene could be her coming out and being like, Barthanas Jomadred is dead. And Lan looking at her knowingly.
They found his head on a pike.
Yeah. And Rand being like, I don't really know what that means. And then, of course, they have to explain everything,
Listen, you have to be a lord now. Things are getting crazy. Yeah, I think it would be really fun to do. Rand takes off. Lan and Moraine chase after him. They keep following this, wild trail of things happening where Rand goes through a village. Yeah, every time Rand passes through a village, his Taviran pole just puts the pattern in a weird direction, and
I love it.
Strange things happen.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes
they could
good,
be
sometimes not so good.
yeah. So they could follow him for an episode, find him, catch up with him. We could do, before they catch up, they could do Van Deen and Adelius, search for some prophecies, meet up with Rand, teach him how to be a lord, teach him how to be a blade master, and then get him somewhere along the lines of meeting up with everyone in Fall May. Do Fall May mid-season.
Yes.
Mid-season Fall May.
Fuck
like,
yes.
don't even, yeah.
Don't
we
wait
don't
until
need
the end for that.
No.
Mid-season.
Fall May mid-season, and then the Stone of Tear finale.
Oof, my heart.
Two big battles. Because Fall May is weird, like fighting in the sky again.
And I mean, they hacked that from the last show or season, whatever. Like, I can't imagine that they're going to try to have, like, the Dragon Reborn reveal be the way that it's done in the books. I imagine it would be done differently somehow.
Yeah.
Some Age of Legends projector has been found.
It totally feels like the Wizard of Oz. Like,
yes! So much.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm very curious what other people are thinking.
Me too.
Or at least what they're hoping for. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like with the amount of information that's out there, you can really, like, come up with a lot of different things because we don't even know if they're going to be anything like the books at all. So, like,
well, I just, like, one thing that I want to say, because it just kind of popped into my head, is that one of the cool things about doing sword fighting is that hopefully it's, like, not a huge visual effects kind of need, and it should just be more about, like, the physicality and movement and positioning and lighting and things like that go into it, because it can like, we've already seen that Lan and Moraine can put together an absolutely gorgeous scene involving channeling and Lan being master dancer extraordinaire with a blade. Like, I want more of that. I would love to see scenes of Lan and Rand practicing together, Karate Kid style. Like, yes, please. Yes.
Mr. Miyagi-ing.
Yeah, exactly. Them up on a post.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that they could really explore, and I would love it. Even if it's not book stuff.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's not straight from the books.
No.
As long as it's exciting and interesting, I'm here for it.